Good afternoon, second glass fans, patrons, followers, etc. It's the weekly wine flights, Cellar Chats here with Chris in the cellar at second glass. We are heading to France for no other reason than why would we not want to do French wines? And we're talking Loire. We're going Loire Valley favorites. We're gonna kick it off with a little Sauvignon Blanc, roll into some Muscadet, and then round out with a Cab Franc. Now, I know what you might be saying is, where's the Chenin Blanc, Chris? Because I know you like Chenin Blanc, and that is definitely a favorite from the Loire. Well, the truth is, yes, I do love Chenin Blanc, and I think it's an amazing grape, but I kind of wanted to lean into a little more like the classics and the ones that, like, I would say more people, and by people I mean the general drinking public, are familiar with. Yes, they're familiar with Chenin Blanc, but if you ask just a random person on the street, hey, what are wines from the Loire Valley? You're probably going to hear Sauvignon Blanc the most, usually referred to as Sancerre. You will probably hear some Cabernet Franc. You may hear the terms Chinon or something of that nature. But Cab Franc, I mean, that would be, if you're going to talk red, that would be the most likely thing to come up. And then Muscadet, which I think has had a really great push, and people recognize it because of the value, and it's an excellent wine. Plus, we're on the coast, and Muscadet and fresh seafood, particularly oysters or mussels, could be one of the greatest pairings of all time. So, let's get into it. We're going to start out with the Charles Bove Touraine Sauvignon Blanc. So again, Touraine is a fairly large region. So you get a lot of wine out of this region, but it is on the eastern side of the Loire Valley. Kind of covers sort of like Middle Eastern over towards, over getting close to Sancerre. Don't think it quite covers all of Sancerre, but it might, as the grand appellation over top, and then you have the subregions within. So obviously the most prominent and most historically famous regions for Sauvignon Blanc in the Loire Valley are Sancerre, Pouilly-Fumé. You got a couple other regions that escape my brain right now, but those are the two big heavy hitters of Sauvignon Blanc. And then there's Sauvignon Blanc grown all over, particularly in the eastern side of the Loire Valley. As you get more towards the center, it's more of Chenin Blanc heaven, and then we get to the far west out on the coast, and that's where we'll get into the next one. Charles Bove, this is, stylistically, this is right down the middle, very classically styled Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire. Minerally fresh. There's a little bit of that, like, gooseberry, kind of like grapefruit citrusy thing. It's not like, I'm not talking like New Zealand, like heavy ruby red grapefruit. I'm talking more like kind of like a little bit more, what's the word? Maybe intense would be the word. A little more intense, like white grapefruit. So if you've ever had like white grapefruit juice, that like very strong, potent, like specific flavor profile, you get a little bit of that here, backed with a lot of minerality. There's also a very telltale, like, you're getting some serious, like, pyrazines, like that. I know technical terms, nerdy things going on, which is that green note that really only happens in Cabernet varieties of the Cabernet like family. Cabernet Franc, Sauvignon Blanc, and Cabernet Sauvignon, which are just riddled with pyrazines, which is why you get, like in Cab Franc, and we'll talk about it when we get to the last wine, because it's Cab Franc. You get that like bell pepper, jalapeno, herbaceous thing. Like that happens in all of the wines. More so in Sauvignon Blanc and Cab Franc than in Cabernet Sauvignon, but it's there. But this is really, really well balanced. There's almost like a, to me it almost smells a little bit like tomato leaf green, which is a very attractive aroma in my opinion, especially in the summertime if you're eating like fresh tomato salad out of the garden. This would be stellar. That's really lovely. Again, Charles Bove, Touraine, Sauvignon Blanc. Really, really lovely stuff. All right, moving in. We're heading all the way to the west. So basically the other side of the Loire Valley. Sorry, I'll hold this up. Metaireau. This is their Muscadet Sèvre, Maine. And this is their black label. Or as it says on here, I think it just says Carte Noire. Metaireau, really lovely estates, been there for a long time. One of the early converters to cleaner farming practices and, just farming and producing for quality as opposed to quantity, which was, historically the case. In Muscadet, a lot of it was just bulk made, not great wines. There's a whole host of really amazing producers out there that I would say have gotten far more attention from like the wine worlds, somms and, industry people like myself that make really beautiful wines. But this is one of those ones that kind of flies under the radar, which makes it a great buy for anybody. These guys have been in the game for a long time and do a great job. So you might be thinking, as you're looking at this or tasting through it, why would I serve a Muscadet after Sauvignon Blanc? Isn't historically Muscadet really bright and mineral and going to be like more on that fresh side than Sauvignon Blanc? And the answer is yes, to an extent. However, this particular bottling, and in a lot of Muscadet that gets aged an extended period of time on the lees, which historically they always put that on there, Surly, that's what that means. It means it's aged on the lees. Gives texture and roundness to the wines. So although this is equally bright and mineral as that Sauvignon Blanc, I feel that the mouthfeel is a little more rounded and really kind of deserves to go next. But that's just me. Maybe try it out, see what you think. On the nose, really bright mineral. In that Sauvignon Blanc, it's distinctly got that herbaceous tomato leaf, kind of like gooseberry kind of thing. And if you've never had a gooseberry, you can get them locally, like at Harris Teeter and stuff. I've seen them. So if you really want to know what it tastes like, I feel like they're in season, like, I want to say early to late spring, but I could be very wrong on that. So don't at me on that one. Really fresh, really crisp. Again, the nose is not nearly as aromatic as the Sauvignon Blanc. Like I said, it doesn't have that like really pop of like specific citrus. It just feels really clean. But then on the palate, wow. So much texture, really gorgeous, like kind of richness of like lemon peel and that like saline kind of ocean spray saltiness. And if you were to like pinch your nose, and this is what I'm talking about, why I would put this after Sauvignon Blanc. If you were to pinch your nose and just taste the wines and judge them based on the textural element of the palate, the Sauvignon Blanc is way brighter, way fresher, very, very quick to like finish. And this kind of continues for a long time. So there's a lot going on the palate. Although the other wine is much more intense flavor-wise, this is more texturally broad. So it kind of fills the palate more, which is why I'm serving it second. Man, that's excellent. Again, Louis Metaireau, Muscadet, Sèvre, Maine, their black label 2020. All right. Finishing, with the always lovely Domaine Les Petits Saint Vincent in Saumur-Champigny. You see, I really tried to inflect my French accent. It's pretty terrible. In fact, I'm sure several people in the area that are French would hear it and go, that was awful, please don't do that again. Saumur-Champigny, fantastic place for Cabernet Franc. Also, the Saumur is riddled with incredible Chenin Blanc vineyards, although there will always be labeled just as Saumur. But I have said this before, and I continue to say it. When it comes to Loire Valley Cabernet Franc, Saumur is kind of my personal favorite. You've got really amazing other places that are historically famous, Chinon, Bourgogne, and there's another one that escapes me, but my brain won't catch up. But for whatever reason, Saumur-Champigny has always given me like just, that's the flavor profile, the texture profile that really makes me personally happy. If I were to compare them all, I would say that Chinon is probably the most graceful and elegant when done correctly. Bourgogne tends to be a little more rustic and a little more like texturally dense. And then for me, Saumur-Champigny is always really beautiful aromatics. And there's always a sense of like purity of fruit and silkiness on the texture that I think just, speaks to me personally. But, you call me out on it, say whatever you want. Tell me what you think. Do you prefer just Chinon, that's the way to go? Or are you loving Bourgognes? Do you even know how to spell that? Because I don't. Anyways, These guys are located in Saumur-Champigny. They have plantings in some of the most important areas of the village. They have vineyards in Poyot. They have vineyards in, I can't remember the other one. Apparently, I can't remember anything today. But that all said, this is just such a graceful, easy drinking, beautiful Cabernet Franc. And much like a couple other ones that I've recommended and we've done on here before, it's a great entry into Cab Franc from France because it is a great variety, as I said, like Sauvignon Blanc, that has those pyrazines and that like bell pepper, like arugula peppery jalapeno thing that can be very off-putting to a lot of drinkers if you're not used to that characteristic. Now, some people love it and some people find it, just not pleasurable, and wine is about pleasure, so it should be fun. I've always found this wine to be a little more fruit-driven and has a little less of that, which makes it a great entry. So, on the nose, very mild, like bell pepper, but mostly like kind of brambly, blackberry, raspberry fruit notes. Has that absolutely gorgeous, like satin silk texture on the palate. Really great tannins, but again, very much in the satiny kind of tannin world, not in the like grippy, like, rip off your taste buds kind of tannins. Finish is nice and clean. A little bit of that minerality that I love about Cab Franc and about the Loire Valley as a whole. And just easy drinking. This is also a wine that's like really perfect for, slightly chilled. And seeing as it was like 90 degrees yesterday and it's equally warm and beautiful today, a red wine you can have a little chilled is kind of the way to go. So again, quick wrap up. This week on the Weekly Wine Flights, which starts tonight because it is Wednesday. I know I'm filming a day. I'm shooting this and putting it out there a day later than normal. My apologies. Charles Bove, Touraine, Sauvignon Blanc. Then we roll into the Louis Metaireau Black Label Muscadet, Sèvre, Maine. And rounded it out with the really delightful, crunchy Petit, St. Vincent, Saumur-Champigny. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting small businesses. Be safe, be kind. Until next week.